Okay, come in. Come in. All right, I have to stand Jennifer. Hello, everybody. In the chat.
Yeah, I know.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to CEC 16 November meeting. And welcome to the Black Box Theater at Brooklyn High School for the Start. Anybody who is joining, who thinks first to please sign the attendance sheet on the table over there. Before we call the roll, I will invite the interpreters to introduce themselves in their languages. We'll start with Mandarin, please. Seems that we have very bad audio. And not certain I can do anything about that.
Look at it closer.
Know that. Because you know what, maybe we need to put this directly on the table. What happens if we put this right on the table?
It sounds much better.
Because my mouth has to face the microphone. How do I don't want to mess with this. How do I disconnect it? Oops, I just pressed.
No, it has to be plugged in. So, yeah, that's the question. So, how is that? Is that better?
Hold on 1 second, I have to connect.
Interpreters, can you hear us better now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let's introduce ourselves, please. We'll start with Mandarin.
Hello, the following message will be in Mandarin. 大家好，如果大家需要中文普通话翻译的话，请拨打电话34796641114，由输入 ID 会议号码7104250井号键。重复一次，如果需要中文普通话的话，请拨打电话34796641114，由输入 ID 会议号码7104250井号键。谢谢 ，Thank you， 到。
Okay, in Spanish.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Fátima Ramón y soy una de las intérpretes en español. Si quiere interpretación en español, puede acceder a la línea marcando el número 347-966-4114 y el código de la conferencia es el 916-409-691 con el símbolo numeral al final. Por favor, se les pide mantener los micrófonos de sus dispositivos apagados si no están participando. El número nuevamente es el 347-966-4114 y el código de conferencia es 916-409-691 con el numeral al final. Gracias.
And Bangla, please.
শুভ সন্ধ্যা সবাইকে। আপনারা যারা বাঙালি আছেন তারা যদি এই অনুষ্ঠানটি বাংলায় শুনতে চান তাহলে অনুগ্রহ করে আপনার মুঠোফোন থেকে ডায়াল করবেন 347-966-4114 এবং পিন চাইলে দিবেন 442-978-332 এবং সবশেষে পাউন্ড চিহ্নটি। আমি নাম্বারটি আবারও বলছি, এটা হবে 347-966-4114 এবং পিন চাইলে দিবেন 442-978-332 এবং সবশেষে পাউন্ড চিহ্নটি। আপনাদের যদি কোনো ধরনের প্রশ্ন থেকে থাকে তাহলে আপনারা আমাদেরকে মাধ্যমে করতে পারবেন অথবা চ্যাট বক্সে দিতে পারবেন। আর যদি কোনো প্রশ্ন না থেকে থাকে আপনারা অনুগ্রহ করে মিউট করে রাখবেন। ধন্যবাদ। থ্যাংক ইউ।
Okay, Ashley, would you be able to call roll? I'll notate it here. Antonia? Yes. Me, Lexi came here. Vanessa? She's on her way. Nancy, on her way also. Katina? Jonathan?
Here.
Hans?
Here.
Donalda? Present. Nancy Randall absent. Danny absent, excuse absent. Tim Kwame?
Here.
Okay, so we have four, right? Okay, great. Thank you so much, Leslie. Would you like to, can you read the
Yes.
introduction? Thank you for coming to the District 15 Community Education Council tonight. We appreciate your time and are glad you could join us. For those of you who are new to the CEC meetings, there are 32 CECs throughout the city, plus 4 citywide councils. Each CEC represents a community school district, and each is made up of 12 volunteer members, 10 of whom are elected by parents in the district. The remaining members are appointed by the Brooklyn Borough President and 2 high school student members. CEC 15 is a state-mandated public body responsible for ensuring that public school parents and the public have input in educational decisions that are made at the school district level. Our council reviews education policies and advocates for high-quality education that benefit all of our District 15 public, elementary, and middle school students. CEC 15 serves 36 elementary and middle schools and 1 high school under the oversight of our superintendent. CEC members serve in an advisory role on education matters to the district superintendent, the chancellor of the Department of Education, and to the state and city elected officials. We approve district school zoning lines submitted by the Department of Education. We evaluate our district superintendent. We review the district's educational program, and we support school leadership teams. We also submit recommendations for the School Construction Authority's annual capital plan. And as of recent amendments to the law, CECs advise in the selection of parent coordinators. We actively seek input and feedback from the public and encourage you to visit our website, cecd15.org, and write to us about any issues you may want to address or learn about. Each school has a CEC liaison. All of our names and contact information are available on our website. Please sign the attendance sheet. And
So the public comment protocol. Tonight's calendar meeting is in person and will include a public comment period. We will take both remote and in-person comments to gather additional feedback from our families and school community members. You may leave your camera on or for your own privacy if you prefer, You may use audio only during the comment period and throughout the meeting. Rules of engagement. When you comment, please comment on the topic, respect the privacy of others, and please do not include names of children or staff. Guests who make inappropriate comments will be removed from the meeting. During the public comment period, those attending virtually may raise their hand to comment or indicate in the chat that they would like to speak. Those called upon will be unmuted. If you are attending in person, you must sign the guest attendance sheet and indicate whether you would like to comment. Speakers will be called on one at a time and will be allowed 1 minute each for comment. We will hear as many speakers as the time allows. It is possible that not every comment and/or question will be given time, so the best way to get your question answered is always to write to the CEC at cec15@schools.nyc.gov. CEC members will also be given a comment period. Members will be called upon and are each permitted 1 2-minute comment and/or question. If members do not have a comment, they may cede their time to the chair.
Thank you so much. And welcome everybody to the Black Box Theater at the Brooklyn School of the Arts. We're really grateful to Principal Vecchiano for accommodating us. And we know that your school has a lot to offer, so I wanted to give you an opportunity to just share with us. This thing picks up your voice, so you have to just sort of project at it.
Okay. Well, welcome to Brooklyn High School, beyond everyone, welcome everyone remotely. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for selecting our space for your meeting. It's accommodating, it's actually a great space where we have lots of shows and concerts and lots of things going on. We're right in the middle of our enrollment period right now, so lots of great things have been happening. Our open houses, of course. We had a wonderful live open house 2 weeks ago. 550 participants. So we're hoping for a bumper crop of auditioners next couple of weeks, and then hopefully a wonderful class coming in September of 2025. So we're excited about all that. We're excited about our performance season, which is up and running now. We have a wonderful production of Footloose, which is happening in February, which you're welcome to come. We have our winter concert on December 19th. Our art gallery is before that, so we have our art gallery at 5:30 p.m. that day, and then our show starts at 7 o'clock. So we're excited about that too, and lots of great things happening here in Brooklyn High School. So please come visit us and come enjoy some of the shows and the things that are going on. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So a lot has happened since we last got together. There was a national election, and I know that there are a lot of feelings out there. A lot of people have legitimate reason to fear for the next 4 years, but we have to find a way to keep doing work on behalf of students and families, regardless of who's in charge. I'm going to continue to host these meetings. I'm going to continue to support our schools and children. I'm going to continue to speak out for equity and integration. I'm going to continue to speak out for our newly arrived students. I'm going to continue to reflect on the diversity of this district. Do I anticipate more obstacles? Yes. Do I anticipate a renewed effort to privatize our schools? Yes, I do. We're gonna have to fight any efforts to lift the charter cap or reissue charters. We're gonna have to fight co-locations in places where we have to fulfill our new class size mandates. Do I anticipate the appointment of somebody like a Betsy DeVos? Yes, I do, unfortunately. And we're gonna have to fight the anti-free speech agenda of the book banners. I'm gonna still be here doing the work of defending our district against an anti-public school agenda that has existed for decades and was no less potent 8 years ago when I stepped on this council. And I can't do it alone. I need all of our district parents and our partners to join in that work because public schools are the true vehicles of democracy and upward mobility. We need them and they need us now more than ever. I'm also going to continue to honor and reflect the people of this nation. And November is Native American Heritage Month. So I want to show you some things I brought you. This is a beautiful scarf that PS 958 is their PTA is selling to honor the indigenous people of our country. And I wanted to show you all that. That was really a cool thing. I'll just pass it around. If you want to take a look at that. I also have 2 banned books about Native Americans. This book is called Fry Bread by Kevin Noble Maillard. It delves into the rich cultural significance of fry bread in Native American communities across the country. In 2022, it was challenged in Northampton, Pennsylvania, as part of a group of books donated to their school district by a nonprofit. And so it's a lovely book about fry bread. Take a look at that. And then I have We Are Still Here, which is a book about sort of more the political history of Native Americans and tribal sovereignty. It was also challenged in Northampton, Pennsylvania. About 50 books were challenged in Pennsylvania by 10 parents. One of the books challenged in that book challenge was also about Kamala Harris and her sister. It was called Kamala and Maya's Big Ideas. November is also International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people. And so I'm going to share this banned book called City's Bird by Malak Matar. It's a book about a child who challenges her trauma through art during the 2014 airstrikes in Gaza. And it's based on the author's own childhood experience. So I will move on to some updates. On October 23rd, I attended a Zoom call with our new Chancellor Ramos, and she spoke about prioritizing teachers with resources and targeted support. She spoke about how parenthood affected the lens with which she looks through parent engagement. She feels that parents are really an underutilized resource. She discussed a pilot program to develop constructive partnerships between superintendents and parent leaders in certain districts. This program would offer targeted support on structuring meetings and escalating concerns before they become major issues. And it would develop and spread best practices to facilitate the partnership between superintendents and parent leaders. She reported that FACE is officially dropping the word engagement from the acronym FACE, and they're going back to empowerment. So the E now stands for empowerment. She said she's committed to continuity and stability. She's not going to be replacing any of the superintendents. She is going to bring back the monthly meetings with CEC presidents and some additional events, but she wasn't specific about what they would be. So if you have issues or questions or concerns that you want me to bring to the superintendent at these monthly meetings, please email me and I will ask her your questions. I did have an opportunity to ask Ramos a question. Since she is now one of the 3 people who is on the board of SCA, I asked her how she plans to hold SCA accountable and whether she would support reform of the agency. And she responded that she is conducting a citywide needs assessment, but she did not believe that this was the time to implement major changes of the SCA. So, we attempted to have a call with Rita Joseph. Our call was canceled. I have made attempts to follow up with her. And I will continue to try to follow up with her about that. Leslie and I met with Principal Castellucci of the Brooklyn New School, and a new parent coordinator candidate. The candidate had been a parent at the school and, he was an arts administrator. And the principal felt he was a really good fit for the school and she was looking forward to hiring him as soon as possible. Many of you know that the DOE made a change to the school calendar this year, and now schools are going to be closed on the 23rd of December. So everybody gets an additional day off for that holiday. I have two questions for Alvarez. I just want to flag for you. There was a new framework for class size planning that was released by Ramos. And I thought maybe you could, if you had more information about that, you could share with us.
Schools are gonna be, so right now, schools have until December 20th to apply for the opportunity to present their idea for class size reduction to the DOE, and there's gonna be a team selected to use a rubric to determine which schools for next school year, the 25-26 school year, will be able to get that funding to create a class size reduction based on their plan. So that's where we are now. Everything's not fully fleshed out or detailed.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to flag for you was the technology readiness activity that we were selected to do. And you don't have to tell us now, but maybe during like your superintendent's report, you could like just share how that went. One of our schools was featured in a Chalkbeat article. If you recall last meeting, I shared with you that I met a parent at a pet meeting who was very concerned about the quantity and quality of movies that were being shown at recess instead of going outside to play. Chalkbeat did an article about that. And as part of that article, they featured PS 456, the school that we were in at our last meeting, and shared how that school brings their children to Prospect Park for nature walks. So it was kind of a nice, it was a nice article. CEC 15 still has a vacant seat for an IEP parent. I'm gonna just share in the chat the application to apply for that seat.
The language.
Multi-language, sorry, what did I say? Sorry, I meant multilingual learner. And don't apply to the CEC. Make sure you apply through the DOE. There are pet meetings coming up. There is a pet meeting November 20th in Staten Island at Michael J. Petrides School. And there is a pet meeting December 18th here in District 15 at Sunset Park High School. I'm gonna put those in the chat for people. Okay, and finally, we have two joint President's Council meetings coming up. We have our November 25th President's Council meeting. It's just going to be a Zoom meeting. It's on their turf. It's at 6:30. They have not provided me with the link yet. But I will share it with you as soon as I get it. And then our next calendar business meeting on December 10th is going to be a joint President's Council meeting. Note the change of location for that meeting. It is PS 94. And at that meeting, it's going to be a forum for the public to share the repairs and SCA capital plan projects that they would like us to add to our list. So that is all of my entire report, and I will turn it over to Superintendent Alvarez.
Meeting is
The 10th.
And the one previously? This, you said,
The
25th, Monday.
Yes, Monday, the 25th. And that's just a Zoom meeting. All right.
Getting my eyes ready.
Yeah.
All right, good evening, everyone. Been a day. So just going, ready? You can start from there, that's fine. So just, well, actually, no, we need to start from the beginning. There. Thank you. Go to the next slide. And then, all right, are you able to lower the screen on the side so that the members have the copy there? There you go. All right, next slide. So really just gonna talk a little bit about some celebrations, a little bit about curriculum rollout highlights. In the middle of the month, we usually go to our APs conferences, so you're gonna see some information about that. There's videos. If we have time, we'll show them. If not, the videos are there for you to observe. I'm gonna talk a little bit about screener data updates and then some upcoming events. But first, I want to start off with really a moment of silence on the next slide. For those of you who are, all CEC should be aware because I did share with everyone. We had Clifford Bowen, teacher, beloved teacher, first grade teacher at PS 10, who suddenly passed the morning of October 31st. Unfortunately, please note that his wife also works at PS 154 and his sister works at 29. So it's been a whole community round thing. And so we're sorry for that loss. It's a great loss to our district and our community. But also we lost a huge pillar to the community in the South Slope, Sunset Park area of Annette Hendrickson, who was one of our parent coordinators. But she was more than a parent coordinator. Many would argue she was a assistant principal, pseudo principal there. She had 3 generations of families. And so our hearts and our condolences go out to the school communities. But the community at large, having gone to both funerals, seeing how many people they touched was really touching. And so just a really quick moment of silence to highlight their light and legacy around the work that they have done in their communities and for our children. Thank you for that. Now we want to talk a little bit about celebrating and honoring November, Veterans Day, as you all know. I was able to celebrate, got a great free meal at Applebee's, so that was always great once a year. But for the men and women and others that are participating in our armed services to protect our freedoms that we have here in this country so much. So I want to salute to all of them and those who work in the DOE currently, those who are parents or family members in our district, and at large. A happy Thanksgiving to those who celebrate in the next couple of weeks. Many people do Friendsgiving, so all those things included, and happy Diwali. And to reminder that in the month of December, we have Hanukkah celebrating a new year, the 2025, which creeped up on us very quickly. For those who celebrate Christmas and also Kwanzaa, and those are the celebrations coming up, and just a reminder. Just wanted to shout out on the next slide, Principal Christina Gonzalez, who was awarded a huge recognition from CPC, which is the Chinese American Planning Council, where she was honored for the work that she does in her community and supporting. And so we were there to celebrate with her a few weeks ago. City Council member Aviles was able to present to her, but there, as you can see, many others who were there that were awarded as well. There were 4 honorees, and she was one of them. So we were glad to see her and happy to celebrate with her in her achievements. Just another note, she just was able to secure full meals for 453 of her families that are considered in any form, way, shape, or form STH all for free for all of her family. She originally got 200. She advocated for more and got all 458, I believe, meals for every single, and not, we're not just talking about a turkey, we're talking about the full meals. So we're happy with that. And they're also microwavable for families who don't have access to stoves in some of the shelters. So we're happy that we were able to accommodate that community. And the next one, just celebrating one of our newer principals, Principal Gonzalez Rojas. She was actually celebrated for National Principals Month by her own staff. She's a new principal coming into an environment where we're trying to make changes. And just the sheer nature of how her staff has embraced her and the community is a testament to the work that she's doing to change the culture at 136. And we're seeing that as we're visiting, we're seeing that through kids, and we're also seeing that through our parents in the community who are happy with the changes that they're seeing. So I just wanted to highlight celebrations of her in that aspect. PS 154 on the next slide, celebrating things like Diwali, Dia de los Muertos, movie night, book character day, Native American heritage, where celebrating the differences and our cultural differences across our districts. And so we're happy about that. 2 principals were recently newly appointed. So I know you heard about this before, but now they are officially appointed this past week. Catherine Fitzgerald, principal for PS 154. Now she goes through the 5-year tenure process. And then Malika Johnson Willis from PS 456, who you all met last month. So we're excited that they were appointed at this point. And our next slide, school cafeteria waste reduction interventions at PS 15. From January 2022 to December 2023, PS 15 implemented innovative interventions guided by waste audits and student campaigns. This project really centered about student leadership and student voice and created a scalable model for real-world solutions for not only other schools, but across the nation. This past week, she was part of one of several schools across the country for the Urban Collaborative, which was a nationwide conference that happened here in New York City. And many schools from across the country were able to go visit her school and see the work that students are doing for advocating for themselves with social justice issues as it relates to things that are impacting them in their school community. So we were happy about that and excited. We continue to have the Brooklyn Nets in District 15 schools. This is just a sample at MS 88, where the Brooklyn Nets continue to do their work across all of our schools. But I was able to continue to extend this to schools across the entire borough. So all of Brooklyn, elementary and middle schools will still continue to engage in the Brooklyn Nets clinics, where they receive basketballs and shirts, and also the professional development and sports clinics with the actual adults. And from time to time, some of the players show up. Some of the coaches have shown up. We had a coach at 136, the new coach, the Spaniard coach that came from Spain, who's also showed up. And it's just a great partnership with them. We are working with them with after-school programs where there are about 6 locations, well, 3 in our district, 2 in District 13, and actually 7, and then 2 in District 20, where they're going to be opening up clinics for after-school program. Those are charged clinics at the schools, but as a result of using the space, they're now covering an after-school program for each of those schools for the after-school at least once a week for them, so that they're paying for and covering. So we're excited about that work. Halloween celebrations in D15 at 131 and 88, where they had balls and dances and galore, just giving students the opportunity to be able to have a safe space to be able to enjoy holiday festivities. At PS 230, the students present at the annual NISTESO conference in Rochester, the Power of Writing publishing celebrations, and 2 teachers at our particular schools at 230, as well as students showing and showcasing their writing work at a state conference. So we were excited about that work that they have done. In middle school athletic league, the MSALs, MS 442 soccer team became crowned the Brooklyn champs. So they won the borough, not just District 15, but the borough. So we're excited about their championship and look forward to them in competing in our district's championship that's run by Michael Perlberg and others across the district. And our next side, we have families learning together and raising money for, and I apologize as a C, it's supposed to be an E, hurricane relief at PS 39, where they were raising money to support for hurricane relief of those families affected by the recent hurricanes that we've had. And so it was great to see parents and students involved in this particular process, as you see in the pictures. Just a little bit about the district curriculum rollout highlights. Math leads are digging into the shifts during a recent PL, as you can see. I'm not gonna play the video because it's a 6-minute video, but you can see the 3 schools that we visited, 261, 443, and PS1 were the assistant principal conference visits. And we were able to do visits. They were still doing voice choice and agency, similar to what I shared in the beginning of the month. We did it for the principals and APs. This month, which today was the principals conference, today's conference was about small group instruction and how we're embedding small group instruction within the curricula that we have. And so at MS 443, you'll see videos next month of how they have implemented small group instruction. You'll also see, I was at PS 321, where we're able to see how they're embracing the Wit and Wisdom curricula and engaging in small group instruction still and supporting students in their reading and also seeing independent reading. And then at 169, you will also be able to see similar things with HMH and how this work looks like in small group instruction, but also for our dual language classes across our district. So touching on all those aspects. And then we're going to really touch on academic screeners. So if we click on the next slide. So on the next slide, you'll see 4 major points that we're seeing so far from the beginning of the year data. Now, please note, it's the beginning of the year, so it's a baseline, right? But we're seeing what first grade is showing the lowest achievement in both reading and math. Interesting enough, we're seeing that across districts. And we're starting to think about what are the implications as it relates to what's happening in kindergarten and how we're preparing our students in first grade. Some of it has to do with what the assessment's doing and how the assessment's looking at students. So we're looking a little deeper into that, and we're going to go deeper into that work. Black students grew by 2% in math, and Hispanic students grew by 3% in math so far on the screener data. There is going to be a heavy emphasis and focus on the 16th percentile in reading, meaning the students who perform at 16% or below. So that's a lot of the work that we're doing, Nicole, myself, and Deirdre, as we're visiting schools around professional development that's happening across the district and conversations I'm looking to see when we're going into classrooms to ensure that we're addressing and targeting those particular students. Not that we're not going to be addressing all the other students, but really heavily targeting those marginalized groups. I've also put ENL students there because that is something where we're struggling with as a district. And we have to do a lot more work on that. Today, we had our principals conference, and we've made it clear that we're going to be focusing on that work. We have Principal Figueroa from 676, who's working an administrative license for school district leadership. And so she's working on a project in terms of looking at really looking deeper dive into the data around how do we support improving that. We've allowed her to do that work because we've seen the significant progress that she's made in the 3 years that she's been at her school, from going from 13% to about 59% at this point. And so there's some work that she's doing around SDI, which is specifically design instruction, where she's tailoring the needs of the individual students. And so she's going to be doing that work in partnership with Michael Perberg, who's also working on his SDL certification, not SDL certification, he's working on a certification process that he's going through that also has him doing some of that work. And so we're creating some onboarding for principals and assistant principals. And he's working with our AP advisory to think about how our APs more intentionally looking at how to support instructional outcomes for our schools. So I just wanted to give you, that's how we're using the data to help us figure out what to do. So if you look at the next slide, it's just a 3-year review of the beginning of the year data. So in 2022, 2023, I'm not going to read those, but you could see we had 5 different screeners used. There was lower participation, less data was collected, lower rates of students on benchmark. In 2023, 24, in partnership with the school leaders and UFT and others, we came up with 2 screeners as a district so that we were able to compare apples with apples. And we were able to see an increase in participation. More data was collected, and we saw a higher rate on benchmark. And then in this school year, we've had consistency in administration from the year prior, which allows for more authenticity of the assessment. We've increased participation even more. This year, we had 18,801 student participate in the actual screener, which gives us just more data to be able to analyze and figure out how to support our particular schools. More data was collected, and there was a similar rate on benchmark. So even more students tested, you could either have gone down or up. We stay consistent. So that's just showing that we're able to see more of what our kids are doing. This is preliminary data. This is just helping us figure out where do we go from here? And we're doing that with schools in partnership and school leaders. So currently, FIG, as I shared with you, is working with about 6 schools that we've identified we need to address not only the 16 percentile, but also those ENL students. And she's working with helping them figure out the root cause analysis of what the issues are, and they're collecting that data now. And then thinking about how do we support our teachers in implementing those practices. Keep in mind that we also have Teaching Matters at our elementary schools, because they're the coaches that are providing on coaching and on-hand support as it relates to the curriculum rollout. Each school is utilizing the coaches slightly differently based on where each school is in terms of addressing the needs and the gaps that are necessary to close when it comes to the curricula itself. So we're happy that we're seeing that. Myself, the deputy, and the EDSO are able to see that data as, for example, school today may have had a visit from the coaches. We're able to see what the coaches have been doing, which classes they're going into, and monitoring the progress of that teacher in terms of implementing the curricula as well. On the next slide, you're seeing the same, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but it's the same thing in math, except in math, you're seeing an increase. So we had less students taking the math than we did the ELA. However, we still have a large percentage. We went from 80% in 2022 to 97% in 2023 of taking the assessment. That just helps us identify where people are. No, this data is not being used to hold principals accountable in terms of their rating. We're looking at what principals are doing in terms of their classrooms and the leadership moves that they're making, and that's how we're rating the principals, and not necessarily based on just the data. So the next slide, I just wanted to give you a little bit of the SMART goal, which is really the DCEP goal in terms of what we're trying to address from the DCEP, and some actions we're taking based on the screener. So as you could see, we're using the Teaching Matters coaches. I was able to work with my ELA team to get NYU to do a free grant where they're actually implementing GEODS coaching for all grade 1 classrooms. In addition to that, I negotiated with them to give us the materials for free as well for those first grade classes, as we know that resources are scarce and the GEODS cost a lot of money. So those teachers are getting ready to begin the cohort in the next week or so on the GEODS and learning how to use those decodables for small group instruction as it relates to supporting those foundational skills. And then the district leads in our district are engaging in screener data analysis to identify where the gaps are and how do we close the gap for those students or create opportunities for those particular students. But we still have some steps to do, right? We still have to, we're still working with our coaches in Teaching Matters. We met this week with the actual coaches themselves, the Teaching Matter organization, and tried to calibrate where we are as a district and where they are as Teaching Matters coaches and how it's aligning to the work of the DCEP moving the work forward. So we're aligning curriculum materials, and trying to be responsive to the data trends we're seeing from the screeners. District instructional team members are attending in-person coaching visits to see on-site, to provide on-site support, but to see what the Teaching Matters coaches are doing so that they can be in partnership around professional learning that we also provide on Monday PD sessions that we have as a calendar throughout the year, as well as others. Similar things we're doing in math. Math is slightly different because, as you know, in middle school, we have implemented IM as a curricular choice. And so there's a focus on strategically supporting students in the bottom 21st percentile, creating school action plans to address those particular gaps when we're seeing them. And then the District Math Lead series is specifically focusing on improving L outcomes, because we're seeing that our Ls are struggling most in our schools. And that obviously has to do with the influx of migrant students we have, in some cases, some of them being economically disadvantaged and coming in with a less of a start. And so we're trying to really create pathways to provide support in improving those particular outcomes. So we've been getting a lot of job embedded support through Bank Street, who's been doing that work in the mathematics. And we've also been partnering with Metamorphosis to continue that work on the conceptual understanding in mathematics, to build sustainability and creating school-based structures that over time can use this work to move forward. Right? The middle school curriculum rollout, there's an emphasis on discourse, which is conversations to develop understanding of the math. And there's a specific attention to our students with disabilities and Ls across our district. Supporting schools with procuring Spanish language materials, which is what we've been doing. And our Chinese, we, this past summer, as you're aware, paid several teachers to work summer school per session to be able to support supplementing the materials in the native language of Chinese, particularly in Mandarin to move this particular work. And what we're going to continue to do is support the math leads with action plans and progress monitoring of those action plans, which is what we're in the process now, as we just got this data. And then supporting teachers with implementing the shifts, the K-12 math shifts through professional learning and coaching on-site coaching and collaboration with the district's students with disabilities team to share those best practices that could be used by any student in the classroom. And so that's where we are with how we're using the screener data at this point. Just a reminder of upcoming events on the next slide after that. We have the Chancellor's Town Hall. The Brooklyn Town Hall will be in East New York at Thomas Jefferson High School on the 26th of November. I will be there. The Deputy Superintendent will be there. Several of the team members will be there as well from the district team. We welcome all of our parents, CEC members, school members, staff members, community members to participate. By doing so, you click on the registration, or you can use the QR code to register. It's a quick, easy registration, and they have it in, I think, like 9 languages to be able to register. The next event that we have after that is on the 10th of December. That's our District 15 Special Education Process Overview, to give an overview for our parents who are going through this particular process of needing IEPs or possibly wanting their children to be evaluated, walking through the process and what a referral looks like and how we go through the process of an evaluation. In the next slide, we have our second town hall for the district, which is on January 21st. That is going to center around school safety and how District 15 supports social emotional learning and what that work looks like and entails. It's going to be led by Gary Albin. He's the Borough Safety Director for Brooklyn, for our district. And our student service manager supports Zachary Miller and Donna Dawson, who's on our team, who support crisis across our schools. And then 2 more events on Thursday, January 16th. We have the District 15 Day in Service. We will have several students across our district volunteering to support our most critical need in our community, particularly in District 15, where they will be working in partnership with City Harvest. We look forward to that event. And then February 13th, we have our District 15 Art Showcase, which will showcase different arts from across all of our schools. We've revamped this a little bit. From 4 to 5:30 is going to be elementary schools, and our middle schools are going to go from 6 to 7, so that there's a break in between, but also addressing the lengthiness of what last year was. And so it was the first one last year. We're going to continue to tweak to get better and better and better. And right there in Q&A. To address, Antonio, your first question originally was, I answered the first one. The second one was.
I think, there was like a technology readiness.
Yes, so that's the same thing that they did with making sure that our children were equipped with the technology at home. We did well, and I think the reason why it was done well this time is because it was spaced out. So several districts went on different days to test the individual students so that we could see how the students did. And we had a high participation rate in terms of hours. Ours was also done on a day where, I believe our day was election day. Is that correct, Deirdre? The 6th, the day after election day. And that's when our students had to log in. Different districts had different days to log in. We were one of like 5 districts that logged in on the 6th.
So you're just testing how,
The response that children are able to get in, they understand where to go, they're ready and prepared and able to log in. Schools that provide the technology, schools have given the students the technology to be able to log in and be able to, and so they had a high rate for our district.
Okay. So is there anybody joining us on Zoom that has a question or comment for the superintendent? Is there anybody from the Bangla line? Anybody from the Mandarin line?
No questions on the Mandarin.
Any questions from the Spanish line?
No questions in the
Questions,
Spanish line.
And Bangla line?
No question in Bangla line. I was asking them. Sorry about that.
Okay, no, thank you. Is there anybody here in person who has a question or comment? Just did too good of a job. Yeah, it is very heavy.
We did one side instead
I have a
of.
question.
both of them.
Yep, CEC Kwame, wanna go ahead?
It's kind of abstract, because I'm new here.
Yeah, sure.
What do you think, because District 15 has a big reputation since, our 32-year-old was in elementary school, so that gives you a long range. And even now, I have a 10-year-old in elementary, it still has a standard across all the other districts in Brooklyn, and say that from conversations I have with parents moving throughout the city, taking my child to various activities, because socialize a lot and talk, ask questions. So as superintendent, why do you think, and you could come at the question as you know, any way you see, why do you think our district such a great reputation and has such a great standard and community cohesion? Even though I just joined in a family, hearing about the, the, the little elements of dysfunction, which are any family, or community, but why is our standard so high?
I think that there's standards across the system that are high. I just think that in 15, having come from working in District 10, working in District 7, having been a principal in District 22, having been a staff member in District 15, and now the superintendent in 15, I think they're attributed to a few things. One, for sure, our community embraces diversity, which is critical when you have different views, needs, and wants across the district. Being able to have the ability to be collaborative across diverse views and find ways to work in a positive way is always a good starting place. I think that District 15 sets a very high priority on professional development in developing its teachers to be the best teachers possible by providing them the latest and best practices. We are a research-based district, so we focus a lot on what research is saying and follow the research and continue to follow the research. And then as a result of that, our retention is high of our teachers. And when you have a high retention of teachers, you don't have to keep reteaching the teachers the things that they already know. You're able to move to those next level. When you're constantly recycling of teachers, meaning teachers leave, teachers come, teachers go, teachers leave, you're constantly having to reteach things that are at the fundamental level. When you get a basic level of learning and then you can expand that to you go from novice to intermediate, and then you can go to advanced learning, you have a higher attention span of teachers that understand content and pedagogy, which is the strategies that we use to teach the content, right? And if you have that, you have the ability to be able to teach a diverse population. And I think that's one of the key factors that we have. I think we've been getting stronger over the years as we've been focusing on the marginalized populations, because what happens is we also have an affluent district. And we have to be cognizant and understanding that when you have an affluent district, oftentimes the students come in with more language. Students come in with the vocabulary that's necessary to be able to deal with what is expected on a grade level, content level. And they also come with backgrounds that provides additional prior knowledge. And so we do have that in this district. But what we've been doing more now is been focusing on those marginalized populations to address the gaps that we face in a district that might be smaller for us, but when you equate it to other districts that might be smaller in size, it comes close to the size of what other districts might be dealing with. For example, in District 7, I was a superintendent of about 8,000 students. In District 15, I have 21,000 students. Nearly 4,000 of those students in this district alone are Ls. And they're not making significant progress. So I can be honest with you and saying they're not making the progress that we need to see of them right now. And that's something that we have to address, which is why I'm focusing on that. But because our teachers have the strong instructional background, to me, it makes it easier to help them learn what they don't know because they have the basics of what other school districts or teachers may not have in other districts because of retention, meaning longevity of teachers, long-term, and so on and so forth. So I think that is what attributes to how we consistently continue to make gains in our district.
Makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Ronaldo?
I have two questions.
Mhm.
The first is around the baseline
Mhm.
collecting data for some works.
Yeah.
At the 65% year over year. Different population of student, different curriculum.
Mhm.
Same data, same benchmark. And I guess I'm wondering. That's kind of a math trick a little bit, right? Different population of kids, different curricula, same outcome.
I disagree.
Okay, so. All right, but
Because if we were saying, I'm looking at first grade and only comparing this year's first grade to last year's first grade, yes, that you can consider to some extent a magic trick, if you will. Using
a little facetious because I'm like, wow, it's kind of amazing that we're using different curricula, that there's a different set of students altogether, generally speaking, because one group aged out and another group aged in,
Mhm.
and the data is exactly the same.
This data is K to 9.
Okay,
So it's the students all from kindergarten to ninth grade. So what we're saying here is that at the same time in the same year, we're seeing similar numbers, which is not a movement high or not a movement low. That means we're stagnant, meaning we're going across. But this is screener data, which is not a diagnostic looking at how students are doing as it relates to curricula, but more of just where are their foundational skills. And so this is an overview of how they are in terms of on or above grade level, but this doesn't necessarily talk about progress and growth that's made. We have that data as well. We just decided to share this right now because this is beginning year data. I don't want to compare something until I have something to compare it with, which would be the middle of the year data that can show whether or not we made progress within the different categories that we would look at. Black students, students with disabilities, IEPs. I can't show the students in temporary housing, but I can go into the Hispanic students. I can go to economically disadvantaged students with IEPs and L status. Yeah.
so I understand what the benchmark is.
Mhm.
I totally get it. I guess I'm wondering, we've had a long time
Mhm.
with the students to impact their readiness for this benchmark. What's going to happen differently this year to get kids into a place where we're seeing a much higher level of kids meeting anticipated benchmarks in the future? What are the instructional adjustments, shifts, additional professional learning supports?
So there's a few things and that's a question that's really tricky to answer because we're in different spaces. We're in a curriculum rollout, which teachers are still learning. So that's in itself, it's its own process. And then we're looking at where are the gaps and we're trying to address those with small group instruction, as you see in the DCEP goals, and we're targeting specific groups of students. So when I'm going through my process in terms of evaluating schools, I'm going in with the intent of looking at those specific names of those specific students that haven't made those significant gains in terms of growth or proficiency. I'm more interested in growth than I am proficiency. I'm more interested in how students are moving because you can't get, it's very hard to get a level 1 student to become a level 3 student in a year. Because research shows that if in first grade, they're a level 1, or let's use third grade, they're in level 1, and they go to fourth grade and they get a level 1. If they scored the same thing that they did in third grade that they did in fourth grade, they'd actually made 1 year's worth of progress. Our job is to close that to give 1.5 years worth of progress, 2 years worth of progress. So if you have students significantly behind as a level 1, I'm not looking to get proficiency of that student to be on or above grade level. I'm looking to actually gain closing of the gap. So an example that I gave of that, for example, was Aileen Mitchell School. Her school is not the highest performing middle school in our district, but she has the highest gains as it relates to growth of students that she receives. So they enter in her school this way. When they leave, the majority of her kids have made significant gains. And so I'm looking at it at two-pronged. We do have to work on proficiency because that's a state measure. Unfortunately, that's the way the federal government and state measures how we're doing. But we also have to measure growth, which to me is more important than anything else. So we've been doing methodical reviews when we're going into schools and identifying where schools are and where these particular students live and sit. So my team, for example, collects data on observations of how teachers are being rated compared to how students are doing in classes and thinking about what do we need to see or what are we not seeing in a classroom. So I might go into a classroom that may not be doing well in terms of movement, and I want to see why. In some of the schools, I'm going in with the 16 percentile names, and I want to go into those classrooms to see how teachers are addressing the gaps that are necessary for those students. Schools have been working with identifying who those 16 percentile are and thinking about what are the strategies that they're using that are research-based and aligned that I hold schools accountable for and using in terms of small group instruction and providing supports when they're in the classroom. But remember, we're also rolling out curricula at the same time of trying to support in small group instruction. And that's the target that we're doing. You heard me talk about the work that FIG is doing in terms of working with the 6 schools that she's addressing, that there are some gaps. So we should be expecting to see gains in the next even middle of the year data at this point, because we're expecting to see them grow from where they were. Will they get to proficiency? I don't know, because at that point, the measures change slightly as well when you get into the middle of the year, right? And so I can't answer that definitively, but the work that we're doing is around providing the instructional coaching and job embedded coaching that teachers need in order to improve practices in the classroom. It's not going to live at the assistant principal or principal level. It's going to live at the teacher level because they are directly impacting students on a day-to-day basis. So we've been shifting a lot of our work and working with teachers on a constant basis. The teaching matter coaches that we have, many schools have 22, 23 days worth of coaching that they're getting in their schools for the actual teachers is going to help. The implementation tool guide that my team has been doing has been helping us see where shifts need to be made. And we're in the process. We have finished that process on November 15th. We finished collecting that data. Now we're in the process of analyzing it to be able to put things implemented in December so that we can start seeing shifts at the very least in February when they take the middle of the year benchmark. So hopefully I can see more gains then.
Thank you.
Hans?
Wait, I'm sorry. No, you said you had two.
Yeah, my second question was around the kids that are scoring in the 0 to 15 or 16%.
Yeah.
And I
Very
was
specific.
wondering around, language-based learning disabilities, identification, and to what extent the Department of Education generally, or New York City Public Schools, AKA, has a set of structures in place that kids and, that teachers are professionally developed in multisensory reading instruction. Like, to what extent are those initiatives still supported and our district still supported? Because it isn't enough for any teacher to address that type of child's need in the tier 1 setting.
Yeah. We've been spending a lot of time with Haggerty Foundations, a lot of the tier 2 interventions. We were starting this before the city started talking about this. So even when I came in, the District 15 team had the INSEP grant, and part of the INSEP grant had funding for things like metamorphosis, Goldman Sauer, which was working on ICT models, foundations, Haggerty, letters training. A lot of our staff, or in Gillingham, a lot of our teachers are trained in all of those things in our district. We have not moved away from that. As a matter of fact, today at 321, we saw students working with foundations in a small group, and in another group and another grade, we saw Haggerty work. So please note that in the shifts around the ELA moves, curricula is only one of them. Other shifts have to do with those teaching those foundational skills. We're not moving away from that in District 15. We haven't, we will not move away from that. We continue to do that work. To your point, though, that work that FIG is doing is also specifically aligned to the state's thinking about how we're looking at specifically designed instruction, which is tailoring to the individual student need. For example, if Johnny needs he's a visual student. How are we finding ways to include that visual for Johnny during tier 1 instruction so that he's getting that additional support so he doesn't have to go to a tier 2? And so we're doing a lot of that work. FIG is starting that work in our district. So I don't expect to see significant results by the end of this year, but I can significantly expect to see impact in terms of growth. And as we continue to build that from year to year, and definitely 2 to 3 years, I could see that having a significant impact on our most marginalized students, particularly the ones you're talking about, STIs, as well as STIs, SWIs, and students who are E&L.
Yeah, I was just could we circle back to Antonia's first question about class size stuff? That was the first time I had heard that about like proposals coming in from schools.
Yeah, schools have the option to, so there's gonna be some funding for next year, and schools can apply to share their ideas and thinking about what is their proposal of how they can reduce class size in their particular schools. And then there's gonna be committees that are gonna review this using a rubric to determine how to move that work forward. And some schools will be provided the funding to explicitly and specifically use it for that purpose of the plan that they had set out, as long as the plan is implemented, and superintendents will be charged in making sure that people go out and implement it with the additional funding that they're gonna get for it.
Great. And then is the goal of that to see some models to potentially be able to implement more broadly in
Yeah.
future years?
I would imagine so. I can't speak on the full, because it's being done, rolled out. And then I also want to also remind, and we had this conversation with our school leaders, is that what was the original intent of the class size law, and keeping the original intent of the class size law in mind as we think about how we're moving the work going forward. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So I just had a question related to the upcoming events.
Yeah.
I'm excited about all of them. I think they're fantastic. What I'm wondering is first, and I'm assuming this is happening, are all of them going to be shared with the parent coordinators to share with everybody?
Yes.
One in particular, I wanted to focus on was the D15 special education process overview, which I think is critical because so many families are scared of, don't understand the whole process. And so when I look at, I'm so happy this workshop is happening, but it's also on a Tuesday at 10 a.m. And so my concern is, as many of us know, oftentimes the people who are able to get these services for their children are the ones who have the time, the resources to access, the wherewithal to make it happen.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering if it's possible to offer this same workshop at different times of days to account for the different family schedules in different languages, to have it recorded, shared, to have sort of a step-by-step broken down, sort of annotated directions for families to be able to follow who can't make it. Just making the process easier for families that may not be able to.
Certainly. So first, before I answer your question, I just wanted to introduce Michelle Ortiz. She's finally on our team. So she's officially on D15 Family Leadership Coordinator. She's already started that work. Michelle, if we can just follow up on this with the CEC, and then we'll send an email by next week to the CEC, letting them know where we are with it in terms of adding more PD sessions, and then also letting CEC know when we've actually announced to our PCs about this, so that they are aware of when PCs got the notification, right? Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Awesome, thank you. Leslie? Nancy?
Thanks. I was about to say. Vanessa's here too. She's there.
Antonia, any other questions?
I don't know.
Vanessa, any questions? That's everybody.
Right. Thanks.
Thank you.
I also emailed you all about the Shazat, a follow-up from last month. You got it?
Very, very.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, right.
So Duet, my understanding is Duet is online.
Yes, she's online.
Yeah, she's online. And she's gonna present virtually. Duet?
Hi, Antonia. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, we can.
I'm sorry I can't be there in person, but I'm germing and I didn't want to make anyone sick before the holidays.
We
So
appreciate that.
but
Thank you.
it's kind of fun to be on this side of that owl thing. It's pretty impressive. Like I can see Jonathan's haircut, like. So my co-pilot Shanice, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Hi, darling. Oh, I see it on your screen. Shanice, do you want me to try to share it in the Zoom from here?
You can. Let me give you. Oh, I might have it.
Okay. No worries. Oh, beautiful. That's great. And just in the interest of time, we can start on slide 6, because we always just like to share our district mission and vision and goals. And Raphael already went over all of the community events, the holidays that we've been celebrating. We had an amazing fair at Westinghouse since the last time I saw you guys. We had our schools represented, as well as Borum Hill came out. We even allowed some charter schools to join us. It was a really fun day. We had more than 300 families. And when you receive the deck, there are like thousands of more photos in there. High school applications are due December 4th. And the guidance counselors then have 2 days to enter everything and verify. So those of you with 8th graders, November 4th is your day. December 4th is your day. So please check in with your counselors and make sure they have everything they need. The Shazette registration has already passed. There is a late registration period if needed. Next slide, please, Shanice. We also, since the last time I saw you guys, had an orientation. Superintendent Ross we took advantage of the Zoom platform and our interpreter friends, some of whom are actually with us this evening. And we held an orientation for our 9th grade families, and thanks to you all, we also had some 8th grade families join us. I've linked in the slide for you guys the presentation that Superintendent Ross shared, as well as all of the workshop materials. It was kind of amazing. I believe we had 6 languages translating simultaneously throughout the evening. The parents and guardian were able to enjoy Superintendent Ross's remarks, and then a super inspiring speaker, Consuela Kickbush. And then they got to in Zoom, and it was really fun for them. They actually literally got to hop in and out of workshops with their interpreters. We had one workshop for special education, which, similar to Raphael, will be doing a district-wide version for all grades, because that was the most popular and well received. We had one workshop for multilingual families, how to access resources that our great city has for our immigrant families. And then we had kind of a curriculum, like around the world in 80 days. The workshops were short because we know people's time are precious, but we were able to give our parents and guardians a snapshot of illustrative math, the HMH into literature curriculum that many of our schools use, also our Black history curriculum with BH 365, and then a very quick overview on what advanced placement and early college offerings we have in the district. It was really exciting, and we will attempt to do more of them. And just like District 15, our next district family event will be around kind of we haven't thought of a name, but really kind of like a hand-holding guide to special education and kind of understanding what what NYCPS has to offer families. Next slide, please. And then just a few highlights. The school year, it feels new and also not new, but our schools are already heavily engaged in college tours and fundraisers. October is a big month for breast cancer awareness, and our schools were out in force. When you get the deck, there's a link. RPCs every month put together a district digest, and these are 3 of the schools from District 15. But when you get the deck, you'll have a link to the entire digest, and you'll be able to see our schools across our 7 districts. Next slide, please. And then just the ongoing, each month we like to share updated data for your district, really honing in on attendance right now with a couple of our schools, with Cobble Hill and with CASA. This data is already old, so I'm pleased to report that as a district, our attendance average is now up to 91%, and our chronic absenteeism rate is holding steady at 25%, and we're hoping to keep a strong hold on these numbers. Next slide, please. And then for this month, we are sharing with all of our CECs just our high-level DCEP goals. These are, it's really nice to not be in year 1 of something. So our goals have carried over from the past year, and we are looking to sustain improvement that we've experienced in the ELA regions, honing in, just like D15, honing in on our student groups, our students with disabilities, and our multilingual learners. So we have specific targets for each student group. Near and dear, priority 2, meeting the moment. We were able to meet our goals last year of reducing incidents and reducing suspensions, and we want to continue on that work. Really looking at like holistic services for families. We have sadly already experienced some losses due to this crazy subway surfing phenomena. We have lost students to gun violence. It is only November, and we have already buried too many kids. Next Tuesday, we have our principals conference, and we are bringing a whole army of resources, elite learners that provides after-school services and what they call safe passage provisions, there's a boxing club in Bed-Stuy that wants to work with our kids. We're really trying, it's, Hillary coined the term a long time ago, this idea of a village wrapping around a child. And we are going to work with our principals. I'm sure you guys all know schools are holding annual Title I parent meetings. We're looking at how schools are spending their Title I money. Specifically the money that's allocated for students in temporary housing. So this is a conversation we will continue to have, because while funds are earmarked for certain student groups, services will impact communities. So we look forward to continuing that work. Our priority 3, high quality academic experience, is all about Algebra 1. There's a ton of research that shows how students perform in Algebra 1 is predictive of future successes in mathematics and post-secondary. So we are continuing our work with IM. We now have I believe all but 2 of our schools are now implementing IM, and we've become an anchor for the city in terms of how do you do this work consistently across a district. So our amazing math leads are in the middle of conducting implementation checks, really making sure the students are experiencing what the curriculum is intended for. And then, of course, filling in gaps as needed, because no curriculum is perfect. We really enjoy monthly PDs that we're doing with our teachers. The central math team are all in and rolling up their sleeves with us. And then as a high school district, priority 4 is really our bread and butter. We are really excited that we now have two team members who are laser focused on this priority. We have one team member who has really taken the lead on advanced placement and international baccalaureate. We now have not just Brooklyn Latin, but Cypress Hills Collegiate in District 19 is also offering an IB track, as well as EBT in District 14. They've always had an IB track, but they are really sharpening that portfolio. In addition to early college, we're also partnering with Future Ready and Career Ready Modern Youth Apprenticeship to offer our students, while still in high school, experience with internships, with paid work, so that they really feel that relationship, what it feels like, what economic security could feel like. And then something we're really proud of, the New York State Seal of Biliteracy was rolled out last year. And we were one of the first districts to jump on. We set a target, I think, of 8 schools being able to offer. This is a post-secondary. The Seal of Biliteracy is one of those like alternative pathways that in addition to the regions, or instead of the regions, this also gives the students an additional award. So these are for our our multilingual learners who are demonstrating proficiency and scholarship in their native language while they are also performing in English. We had set a goal last year of 8 schools. 10 of our schools were able to offer graduates the seal, and this year we're doubling down literally, and increasing our goal to 18 schools. And I believe as of today, we have 17. So we're really excited about that. And then priority 5 is all about our parents and our communities. We met our goal last year of having 76% of our families respond favorably to the questions around parent involvement on the New York City School Survey. So we are going to up the ante a little bit and try to hit 80%, which this district has never done. So we're hoping to do that. And one of the strategies for what Chancellor Banks has set out and what Chancellor Aviles Ramos will continue, which is making New York City public schools competitive for families. you guys, I think last year we shared some of the work we're doing with modernizing classrooms. So this year, in addition to physical classrooms, we're also bringing in modernized curricula. So in our math classrooms, in addition to IM, we are also implementing a program called Prisms VR, where students are using virtual reality to experience algebra. And if you guys would like to check it out, CASA, who you guys have met, they're on the John Jay campus. You guys met Principal Watt when we appointed her. They are a pioneer school right now, one of the few schools on the East Coast that's doing this work really well. We're also partnering with a company called EDIA that offers AI-powered math tutoring, one-to-one math tutoring for students. And we have 5 schools involved in that. And then we have schools working with a company called Transfer that also uses virtual reality, but for career exploration, where you can climb a solar tower and fix a panel, or you can be hands-on in an emergency room and triage a patient. So really, really exciting work that I look forward to continuing to update you guys on. And then, like all of the New York Public School districts, we're continuing to increase our expectations for attendance and keeping a strong eye on chronic absenteeism. We're in a good place now, but we know it's only November. So again, when you get the deck, there's a link for a more detailed view, our analysis of our work from last year and how we came to these goals for this year. Next slide, please, Shanice. And that's all I have for you. When you get the deck, please visit our district digest. Our PCs really love doing that work. It's a way for a kind of a vast geographic community to feel like a close-knit community. And then, of course, our website has our updated directory of high schools, as well as open house information. And in that open house index are also special education open houses. We did that last year at the request of some parent advocates, that every Brooklyn North High School held a special education open house. And we are maintaining that expectation this year. So all of that information is on our website for you. That is all I have. Thank you so much for accommodating my germs.
Thank you, Yuet. Is there anybody joining us on Zoom who has a question or comment for Yuet? Is there anybody on any of the translation lines who has a question or comment?
No question in Bangla line.
No questions on the Mandarin line.
No questions in the Spanish line.
Gracias.
Any questions from anybody here in person?
I wanted to ask how many schools are using the Transfer AI career exploration? Thank you.
Yeah, we have 3 schools right now, Maxwell, Transit Tech, and Westinghouse.
And it's mostly like career and technical kind of vibes?
It's career exploration. So like if you want to experience what it feels like to be a solar panel technician, you can, I think they're building out 6 industries, and the idea is to allow students from their classrooms to have a very physical experience. I can send you a video of one of our principals thinking he's climbing a tower in his library with his VR headset.
I looked at the website just now. I think that's really cool. Thank you for sharing. That is neat. And I have one follow-up question. The
EDIA, the AI for one-to-one tutoring for math for students that's in the schools that you were talking about. I think you said 5 schools, but I don't remember exactly. Is that accessible for kids is it only for high school, or is that accessible to kids in grades K through 8 as well?
Let me check and let you guys know. I want to say it is, but you know, I
Okay,
only
cool.
think about 9 through 12.
No, I understand. I'm asking outside the sphere of, you know, your regular day. That's a very cool tool to have access to for kids who need math help.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and it's they're an interesting group. They're very like Raphael was talking about research as being the heart of District 15, right? EDIA, they're a very smart group of people who are interested in kind of being alongside educators as they they're technocrats, right? But they're really cool. So Raphael, if you're interested, I'd be happy to connect you with them and see what they can do for you guys.
Great.
Thank you so much.
I'll
I
do
really
Hans?
Of course.
Do you have any questions?
No,
Katina?
no, I don't feel better yet.
Nancy?
Thank
I just have a quick question, how you went?
Hi, Nancy.
I was looking at the statistics, I'm just not sure how to read that, but there was a statistics of chronic absenteeism. Was it like a 36%? So I was trying to understand how that parsed with improving attendance to 90%. Like those two numbers weren't jiving to me. I'm not
Yes.
sure how.
So
Thank
so
you.
it's not a pie. The chronic absenteeism, so a student is considered chronically absent when they miss 10% of the school year. So for the school year in general, it's 18 days. So at any given point, depending on how many days of school there has been, a certain subset of students can be considered chronically absent. And citywide, the citywide goal is to keep that number under 30%. But depending on the time of year, it may be higher or lower. But it's not directly related because attendance is on average how many days students are present. But chronic absenteeism is counting students who are missing a certain percentage of school.
Thank you.
No questions for me. Thank you as always for everything. Leslie?
Thank you so much. Yeah, if you have more information about the AI tutoring, like a demonstration or something, it might be interesting to share at a meeting. I'm sort of interested on
Yeah.
if it's really effective. I'm a little skeptical.
No, and
Maybe-
it's I was thinking that, and I know like December's a busy meeting, right? So maybe January I can have them come, I can have them join us.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, absolutely. They would love it.
No, thank you, Juliet. Feel better.
Thank you.
Kwame?
I'm good.
Thank you, Yuet.
Thank you so much, Yvette.
Feel better.
Thank you, District 15. Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays to you too.
If anybody gets sick, it's not my fault. I'm self-quarantined.
All right, okay, so it looks like we have a full table here. And we have the chair of our bylaws committee here to guide us through this bylaws conversation.
And hopefully vote on it too.
And hopefully vote on it, yeah, yep. So this would be the second time that we are presenting this to the council. I know, Kwame, this is something that we started last year, and this draft has had changes since the last time we all sat together and read this out. So I'm going to turn it over to Vanessa.
Thank you. And I believe we're required to read all of it, correct?
Yeah, yeah. We just highlight for people where the changes were. I mean, I'll share it on my screen.
Well, thank you for working with me on this, Antonia and Jonathan and somebody else was involved in this process. I've seen comments from council members, so thank you for investing time on reviewing this document. I know it's lengthy. Just as a way of background, I want to let people know that these revisions are initially or were initially based on phases recommendations for edits. And we'll talk more details about that. Since the recommendations from phase were issued, we've also changed some of the things they asked us to implement. And we have decided not to include some of those recommendations. So I'm gonna start by reading first page by the bylaws of the Community Education Council for District 15, working draft, and it will be approved by the CEC for the 2024-2025 year in accordance with the law and will be adopted by, we'll figure out, again, some of the edits you see here from the previous draft, the currently working bylaws. So whenever you see a highlight or something erased, it's because that will no longer be operational. Were adopted by vote of the Community District Education Council for District 15 at this public meeting. We'll add the date in 2024. And we'll add the council members who vote on this. For the table of contents, we have simply organized everything by articles and sections for better frame of reference. Do I need to go through the table of contents, Rita?
I don't think you need to go through the table of contents.
Okay.
Move down to,
Just
Page.
is it page 3?
Page 3 is where we start. Okay, Article 1, name and authority. Section 1, name. The name of the council shall be Community Education Council, District 15, CEC 15. Section 2, authority. The council shall have the powers and duties set forth in New York State Education Law, Article 52A, Section 2590, and implementing regulations. Article 2, officers and elections. Section 1, officers. A, officers of the Community Education Council for District 15 shall be 1, president, 2, co-vice president 1, 3, co-vice president 2, 4, recording secretary, 4, 5, treasurer, and 6, parliamentarian. B, no member might hold more than one office at a time. Section 2, elections. A, officer elections shall be conducted at the July meeting by roll call vote. At least 7 council member votes are required to win. Officers shall serve 1-year term and shall serve until their successors have been elected. B, at the beginning of the new education council term, in the event that no officer is re-elected or reappointed to the council, the administrative assistant to the council or Department of Education representative shall convene the first meeting of the council by 1, executing the notice of the meeting pursuant Article 3, Section 1, 2, calling the meeting to an order, and 3, conducting an election run among the council members for a chair pro term, who will then begin the process of electing officers. Section 3, duties of officers. 3.1, president. A, the president shall be the chief executive or officer of the council. B, the president shall call and preside all the meetings, execute all documents on behalf of the council, and exercise all powers and perform all duties pertaining to the office of the president. C, the president shall have a vote upon all questions before the council and shall have the right to take part in the debate of any questions under consideration. D, the president shall be an ex officio member of all committees. E, the president shall represent the council in all external bodies in which it is represented, including but not limited to meetings with the chancellor, the board president, and the District 15 leadership team. We have it raised F, which, as we explained before, reference to, I'm gonna read it. The president will retain a printed copy of the transfer of records guidebook until the end of the term as president, at which time the book will be returned to the AA. The reason why this is erased is because we no longer have a physical copy of records. And this transfer just simply happens electronically. So therefore, F will be the president shall supervise the administrative assistant to the council on its behalf. H, the president shall ensure the proper organization and transfer of the records to an incoming president. Records include, but are not limited to, meeting agendas, approved minutes, resolutions, budget documents, digital logins informations, and passwords associated with the CEC. And I guess H will be the president shall approve all members' reimbursement requests except their own, which shall be approved by the treasurer. 3.2, co-vice presidents. The co-vice president one shall exercise the powers and perform the duties of the president in the absence and discharge such function as they might be assigned to them by the president or by duly adopted council resolution. B, the co-vice president number two shall exercise the powers and perform the duties of the president and co-vice president one in the absence and discharge such functions as it might be assigned to them by the president or co-vice president one or by duly adopted council resolution. C, the co-vice presidents shall share the duties equitably, including as necessary attendance at meetings to the president's council meetings for District 15. 3.3, recording secretary. The recording secretary shall, in conjunction with the president, supervise the administrative assistant in taking and keeping meeting attendance minutes, and the voting record of all motions and resolutions, sign all approved minutes, and ensure appropriate record keeping by the council, including compliance with the open meetings law and freedom of information law. B, in the absence of the administrative assistant, the recording secretary shall be responsible for taking minutes. C, the recording secretary shall also discharge such functions as it might be assigned to them by the president or by duly adopted council resolution. 3.4, treasurer. The treasurer shall be responsible for working with the administrative assistant and designated Department of Education, DOE staff, to ensure that the business transactions and member reimbursement requests are properly documented and follow DOE standards operating procedures. D, the treasurer shall sign the president's reimbursement requests, supervise the administrative assistant in preparing budgets and regular financial reports, and present the same to the council for approval. C, the treasurer shall also discharge such functions as it might be assigned to them by the president or by duly adopted council resolution. 3.5, we have always in this council had a parliamentarian, but we have not included the duties of the parliamentarian, so this is a new addition. A, the parliamentarian shall fulfill the following goals. 1, protect the rights of individuals, the views of the minority, the views of the majority, absentees, and all the CEC members as a single body. 2, dispose of issues in a quick and orderly fashion. 3, enable the majority to make official determinations. And 4, prevent community board members from discussing more than one motion at a time. B, the parliamentarian shall rule on points of procedure relating to the bylaws. The parliamentarian shall be, shall be responsible for maintaining order in meeting, at any meeting, and at that meeting is held according to its scheduled timetable. I'm gonna pause here because Nancy Cruz has added a comment on this point. Not sure if if you have anything to add.
Oh, that was old, but I do have I don't think it should be community board. I think
Yeah.
it should be council members.
Yeah, for consistency.
Yeah.
Community
Because I think,
education council members.
yeah, education council members, yeah.
Education members?
Or community education.
Yeah, community education. I think maybe you took some of this language from community boards, and that's probably why that.
Mm-hmm. And generally, a lot of legal documents referring to CECs refer to CECs as a community board. Okay, section 4, vacancies in an office. An officer who wishes to resign from their office must notify the president in writing. Or if the officer is resigning, or if the officer resigning is the president, the first vice president, who must notify the other council members within 3 business days. A vacancy in an office shall be filled for the unexpired term by a special election at the next regular scheduled calendar meeting of the council. And C, notice of the vacancy and election to be held shall be included in the notice of the meeting if in the filling of the any vacancy, another office is vacated, that office shall be filled immediately by a special election held the same meeting. I think we've seen this in action lately. Section 5, removal of officers. A, an officer may be removed from the position within 7 council members' votes. With 7, I apologize. For any reason, including absences at a regular or special calendar meeting, provided that the officer has been given the opportunity to address the council at such meeting prior to the vote being taken. B, notice of the vote to remove such officer shall be included in the notice of meeting and agenda. Article 3, Section 1, notice and public access. All meetings shall be open to the public except where otherwise permitted by law. B, except as provided by Article 3, Section 5, public notice shall be given to the community at least 72 hours prior all meetings through local news media and conspicuously posted in one or more designated public places as provided by the open meetings law, reference to the footnote on New York State Public Officers Law, Article 7, Section 100 to 111. Number 1, the open meetings law requires that public businesses be performed in an open and public manner, which the community be fully aware and able to observe the performance of public officials and attend and listen to their deliberations and decisions. C, in addition, notice to all the meetings shall be given in writing in English and other languages as appropriate in a form suitable for mass reproduction to the president of every parent association, parent-teacher association, the president's council, head of school, and parent coordinators to post conspicuously in schools and other interested persons and organizations who express a desire to receive meeting notices. D, all meetings shall be held in facilities accessible to the disabled. Section 2, member attendance at meetings. As a way of background again, this section is added from a resolution that was passed by this council last year, I believe. And the language is simply a copy paste and adjustments to make sure that it's well adjusted to the bylaws of this body. So A, CEC members shall be physically present at the scheduled calendar and working business meetings unless such member is unable to be physically present at one of the designated public meeting locations due to extraordinary circumstances. For purposes of these procedures, the term extraordinary circumstances includes disability, illness, caregiving responsibilities, or any other significant or unexpected factor or or event that precludes the member's physical attendance at such meeting. Hybrid meetings. C. If a member is unable to be physically present at one of the designated council meetings due to extraordinary circumstances, and if there is a quorum of members participating at a physical location open to the public, the council might properly convene a meeting. To properly convene a meeting, a quorum of members must vote in person to proceed as a hybrid meeting. A member who is participating from a remote location shall not count towards a quorum to proceed with a vote for a hybrid meeting. E. Except in the case of executive sessions, any member attending by video conference shall ensure that they can be heard, seen, and identified while the meeting is being conducted, included but not limited to any motions, proposals, resolutions, and any other matter formally discussed or voted upon. Such members must ensure that their full first and last name appear on the video conferencing screen. F.
Just point of clarification, so if we have a quorum in person and there are members who are able to join via Zoom, should we put at the beginning of the agenda for the meeting to vote to make it an official hybrid meeting? Because it
Yeah.
sounds like that's what we have
Yeah.
to always do.
Mhm.
I feel like that should just be a
A
consistent part of the beginning of every agenda.
So should we add that into, I think there is a section where it covers the agenda. Does it?
I believe so.
And
Absences,
we can add
calendars, mm,
vote to
agenda, calendar meetings and business workings.
proceed with a
Hybrid meeting. Okay. That makes sense.
Where we
What
at?
I was at F, right? Okay. The minutes of the meetings involving video conferencing based on extraordinary circumstances shall include which, if any, members participated by video conferencing from a private location due to such extraordinary circumstances. G, the public notice for the meeting shall inform the public, one, that extraordinary circumstances video conferencing will or may be used. Two, where the public can view and participate in such meetings. Three, where required documents and records will be posted or available. And four, the physical locations for the meetings where the public can attend. H, the council shall provide that each open portion of any meeting conducting using extraordinary circumstances video conferencing shall be recorded, and such recordings posted or linked on the council's website within 5 business days following the meeting, and shall remain so available for a minimum of 5 years thereafter. Such recordings shall be transcribed upon request. If members of the council are authorized to participate by video conferencing from a private location due to extraordinary circumstances, the council shall provide the opportunity for members of the public to view such meetings by video and to participate in proceedings by video conference in real time where public comment or participation is authorized. The council shall ensure that where there is extraordinary circumstance video conference use, it authorizes the same public participation or testimony as in-person participation or testimony. We added the title for absences. J, except in an emergency, members shall notify the president and the administrative assistant at least, we changed this from 72 to 24 hours prior to scheduled meeting of their intent to be absent. However, such notification shall not in and of itself constitute an excuse absence. The change on 72 to 24 is simply to reflect most common practices. K, any council member who fails to attend 3 regularly scheduled calendar meetings of the council without a valid excuse tendered in writing to the president and the administrative assistant vacates their office by refusal to serve, as per New York State Education Law, Section 2590. Absences shall be noted as excused or unexcused, as the case may be, in the meeting minutes, and any written excuses tendered shall be attached. After the third unexcused absence, the president shall, at the next calendar meeting, present a resolution declaring a vacancy to the chancellor. 1, notwithstanding the provisions of Article 4, Section 3.2, such resolution shall be voted upon at the same meeting without a public comment thereon. And as provided in the Chancellor's Regulations D 140, the following shall constitute valid excuses for absences: death of a relative or attendance at a relative's funeral, serious illnesses or injuries of a family member, mandatory court attendance, including jury duty, military duty, and job-related conflict, which makes absence from a council meeting unavoidable. O, if the council deems it appropriate or otherwise, other absences might be excused by vote of the council. The council reserves the right to request documentary evidence of a member's excused absences. Section 3, annual meeting. I'm gonna pause here in case there are any questions or comments so far. Section 3, annual meeting. Meetings. Is there 6? I see a footnote. I'm just gonna check out the footnote really quickly. I don't see it. Yes, I don't know what that is. Okay. Seems like it's a typo. A, the annual meeting of the council shall be held on the second Tuesday of July unless said date falls on a legal holiday. In which event, the meeting shall be scheduled for the third Tuesday in July, provided that all rules for notification of meetings are adhered to. The only business considered shall be the election of officers.
Pause there for the comment.
Where it's in the.
There's a comment by me.
Oh.
To discuss whether we needed to expand this. Instead of specifying on the second Tuesday of July, to say simply July, because that's what we tend to do, because it's a busy month and everybody's traveling. There have been a lot of discussions on the topic when we have read this resolution. We have stayed on the keeping the second Tuesday and moving it as necessary. But I'm not sure if there are new considerations that we should keep in mind or ideas.
We just add a line saying that members will be told and the quorum cannot be kept for the second Tuesday. Different stay in the month of July will be.
I think it should be in July. It's in July, and you pick a day. Makes it flexible.
Yeah.
Any objections to saying just July? Okay, so the annual meeting of the council shall be held in July.
I'll specify Tuesday.
No, thank you.
It's just so, yeah. I don't know that. Yeah. In July, and we don't need to add unless it falls on a legal holiday because it's gonna be any time in July.
Right.
In which event the meeting shall be, okay, that is also not. In July, and we must ensure that all rules. Okay. So, section 3, A says that the annual meeting of the council shall be held in July, ensuring that all rules for notification of meetings are adhered to. Is that okay with everyone? Okay. I'm gonna move to section 4, calendar meetings. The council shall hold calendar meetings at least once a month at which formal decisions and resolutions will be considered and voted upon, and where the public will have the opportunity to address the council. B, council calendar meetings shall be held on the last Tuesday of each month at 6:30 p.m. In the event that they falls on a legal or school holiday, the meeting will be held the Tuesday prior. Okay, so is this where we should add that we should vote to proceed with hybrid meetings?
Isn't there an
ahead of
agenda
time?
portion?
Oh, in the agenda.
Yeah,
I
there's
think
an
it was-
agenda portion.
Okay, yes, okay, all right. Section 5, business working meetings. A working business meeting shall be held on the second Tuesday of each month. In the event that there is unfinished business, the council might vote to schedule an additional business working meeting and may vote to schedule additional working meetings as needed. The public shall be notified of all working business meetings as described in Article 3, Section 1. 6, special meetings, either business, working, or calendar might be held at the call of the president or upon the written request of the president of 3 members of the council. 1, special meetings held at the request of 3 or more council members must be held no later than 2 weeks after receipt of the written request by the president. B, the president shall ensure that the written notice is given to each member of the council no less than 48 hours in advance, and the public notice is disseminated as provided for Article 3, Section 1. 1, the notice shall state the matters to be considered at the meeting. No other matters might be brought forth except with the consent of all members present. Section 7, executive sessions. In accordance with Section 105, the New York Open Meetings Law, Public Officers Law, Article 7, executive sessions may be held to discuss matters that require confidentiality. Executive sessions may be called to deal only with matters enumerated in the Open Meetings Law, Section 105, including but not limited to matters of individual privacy, medical, financial credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person. 2, information relating to current or future investigation of criminal offenses which will imperil effective law enforcement if disclosed. And 3, discussions regarding proposed pending or current litigation. Again, I see a footnote that I don't think belongs there. Okay. C, to uphold the confidentiality protections provided by the New York Open Meetings Law and ensure the integrity of executive sessions proceedings, the use of any recording devices, including but not limited to audio recorders, video recorders, and electronic devices capable of capturing or transmitting sound or images is strictly prohibited during such sessions. Point C was added by the people drafting this bylaws, and it's something that we have been implementing as a practice during executive sessions. So I'm gonna finish reading this section and we can see if there are any comments on the matter. The executive sessions shall be held as needed and convened only by motion. Such motion shall identify general ideas to be considered during executive sessions. Decisions shall be made by a vote of 7 council members and shall be ratified at a calendar meeting, business meeting, or special session meeting by duly recorded roll call vote. E, attendance at the executive session shall be permitted to all members of the council at any other persons authorized by the president or by vote of the council. Okay. Are any comments? Do we have any comments to the changes to section 7?
I do know it was raised during one executive session, people bringing phones who ever worried about childcare. To bring them, but showing them and recording anything, I don't know if we want to get into the weeds with that. Bring that up.
Please say that again.
It was brought up at a previous executive session, people who need childcare issues and wanted to just have their phone, but that in case there was, I should say during.
I mean, the language says the use of any recording
So if you're
device.
not using it,
If you're showing that you're not recording, it's definitely not in use. You're not talking to someone or
Right.
texting someone, you're not, it's not in use.
I just wanted to check.
But
That's how I see it.
yeah. Any other comments, questions? No? I'm gonna move on to Article 7, conduct of business at meetings. Unless otherwise specified. Did I say Article 7? Article 4. Unless otherwise specified, the format of the meetings of the CEC 15 shall be as follows. 1, only the person presiding or chairing the meeting has the authority to yield the floor to a member of the council or a guest. 2, each member who has the floor may speak uninterrupted for 2 minutes. All members of the council shall respect the member of the council or guest who has the floor. All procedural details not specifically mentioned in the CC's 15 bylaws shall be deferred to the Robert Rules of Order. This is added by us. So are there any comments or questions to this introduction? Okay. I'm gonna move on to section 1, agendas. 1.1 calendar meetings. A, each notice of a calendar meeting shall state that the topics to be considered shall be accompanied by text of any resolutions proposed for adoption by the council. B, resolutions might be placed on the agenda by 1, a vote of 7 council members taken during a business or working meeting, or 2, 3 council members who shall have submitted such items to the president and the administrative assistants at least 5 days before the calendar meeting, or 3, a member of the council at any time, provided that 1, they shall have delivered a copy thereof to the president and administrative assistant before the start of the calendar meeting. 2, such addition is consented to a vote by a vote of 7 council members, and 3, copies thereof are distributed to each council member prior to the call to order. On point 2, business working meetings, the agenda for each working meeting, business or working meeting shall be developed by the president. B, members of the council shall have the opportunity to place an item on the agenda by notifying the president in writing 1 day before the meeting, and to raise issues for consideration under new business, I'm sorry. Section 2, order of the business at calendar meetings. A, the order of business at any calendar meeting, except when otherwise prescribed by the president, shall be as follows. Call to order and roll call. 2, approval of minutes. 3, program presentation. First public comment session may be added here. 4, report of the president. 5, report the superintendent. A second public comment session might be added here as well. 6, old business. 7, new business or resolutions, which is also followed by a public comment session regarding new business or resolutions. 8, a general public comment or speaker session. And 9, vote on resolutions, and 10, adjournment.
So I think number
This is where the
2.
Yeah, but I also want to point out, so this is order of business at calendar meetings. And don't we only approve minutes at business meetings?
You can, approve minutes that
Okay, I feel like we usually do it at
we
business.
do,
right?
it just seems businessy.
So should that be here then? Under
Why not?
The-
Why not have it when you have a order, if for some reason you want.
You know what,
to approve it?
It's telling us how we're supposed to do it, and we have meeting.
But if the minutes.
But it-
approved, it's just
also,
approve it.
But like, look at the agenda for today. On calendar business, the voting on minutes is only in the business. I know it's very nitpicky, but.
right,
Right.
It's going to be,
It's perfect to have the flexibility if at some point the meetings on those.
Should it be stated in there to say approval of minutes either? Can be done in either business or calendar meeting?
Most, here's the thing, most CCs don't even have a business meeting. So. It's like another. It's like, it's written out here as a conglomeration. This is what this is what the face gave us. Because we don't even. Like, do old business and new business in the calendar meeting. We do that in the business meeting.
I mean, do we want to then change the section title to order of business at business/calendar meeting?
Maybe. Yeah.
I like the reverse cast that.
Yeah, that makes
Is it coming?
sense. And we have to add after the roll call to add number two,
Continue that series.
vote to proceed with hybrid meeting. Or just hybrid meeting vote. Is there a better way to phrase that?
Do we
Okay.
need to vote? Just in the language of the hybrid meeting included the public comment period on Zoom, which we do anyways all the time. So should we? But
You want to put all the public comment periods in there? I mean, like, the thing is about bylaws, you don't want them so restrictive.
right,
You know, you want to give like a good sort of, structure, but you don't really need to write everything in stone, you know? But have a little flex. Yeah,
I don't disagree.
there is a general public comment period built into this.
Isn't general public comment period added in the instructions on how the hybrid meeting is supposed to go anyway? So what we can do is reference it back.
You know, I wasn't saying we add public comment period there. I was just saying, do we,
You
on
want,
the days that we don't have. Should we still vote for?
We can.
you can't,
We can't,
We're
right?
stuck.
Because
Yeah.
we just can't because we don't.
don't have.
But is still allowed to, we've been doing it anyways, still allowed to take public
yes,
comments
you
on
can-
Zoom, even
yes.
though it's not an official formal.
Yeah, the only thing you can't do is vote. You can
Right,
do
you just
everything
can't
else, just can't vote.
Okay,
So you think we should do a public comment on whether the
No.
hybrid meeting can
No.
proceed?
No.
Okay.
No. Do that. I think what he's, if I may.
yeah,
Are you struggling with, should you prescribe public comment periods after each section? Is that what?
no,
you're-
that's not what I'm saying. I was saying that we allow for public comment periods virtually. Yet in reading these bylaws, I got the sense that we shouldn't be doing it. Because
So why do you do this?
Because
It should
the
be
hybrid
approved by
meeting,
hybrid meeting.
because a hybrid meeting can't be approved if we don't form. And so therefore, we should not be,
But that is applicable only to members of the council.
So this is not a hybrid.
but there
meeting,
was a
is what
whole,
we're saying.
right, so
This
there,
is not-
Essentially
this is
not.
not a hybrid meeting, so that's.
The hybrid
because there's
meeting,
a whole subsection about public comment period in the hybrid meeting part that's not related to.
let me.
But I think that that is to ensure that public comment is possible
Right.
in a hybrid meeting, not to foreclose the possibility of public comment. If a hybrid meeting is
Does not
not,
exist.
Right.
I think it's, the intention is opening, not.
Right, I just want to make sure we don't write it in a way where
Yeah.
we're not allowed. A
Yeah.
virtual public comments, I just want to make sure the language is.
Could you look at the language on Article 3, Section 2, which is the portion with the hybrid meetings? And see where there might be an error of that interpretation so we can figure out if we can fix it.
Not trying to be difficult. here.
No, it's a legitimate concern. I think maybe Section G, is that what you're talking about? G. I don't know.
Would it make sense to add a bullet that says something like even public comment can always be permitted?
No, because if we have a technical issue and we cannot
Yeah,
get the Zoom for some reason, we don't like,
yeah,
these meetings are always intended to be
Obviously.
in person.
yeah.
So
That
it's
makes sense.
I,
If members. View such meeting by video. Yeah, so
public
basically,
comment.
if we vote to go into a hybrid meeting, we have to be certain that the members of the public, whether they're here
Right.
or whether they're in their home, can hear and see that member that is
That is right.
participating remotely. And if we don't have the technology for whatever the Wi-Fi acts, whatever happens, that hybrid meeting cannot occur and votes can't happen.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I guess how I was reading this was that. It was. We were only authorizing. Video conferencing in real time with public comment in these extraordinary. But. I just want to make sure.
The entire brain?
Well,
Sleepy.
it's been a long day.
But the way that you were. Getting it.
And it's part of a resolution that has already passed.
Right,
So.
And this is the language that the DOE gave us.
okay,
So
just making. I just want to make
Yeah.
sure.
you would
that
have
we
to
are-
take that up.
We are,
with DOE.
right, that we are good to.
Right, no.
Meetings.
Yeah.
Because when we don't meet quorum, I want to make sure that it's like, no, you can't have.
And I think that the intent of this is to actually help me, help. To, yeah.
Yeah.
Go back at,
B. Section
page
2.
13B.
The regular order of business may at any time be changed by a vote of 7 members of the council. C, the public shall have the opportunity to comment on resolutions on the agenda prior to the council vote by signing the speakers list. In addition, the public speaker session shall be conducted without agenda or other formalities subject to the council's prerogative to require speakers to have signed the speakers list or manage requirement time. Just to the point that you were making, I don't know if this is, because we don't always have a speaker speakers list when people are participating remotely. So I'm not sure. Or in person. So I'm not sure that this is
But they could write something in the chat, no?
that too, but oh,
I
shall have the
put that in
opportunity
there in case there are rowdy people. That
as a backup.
as a backup to say,
Mm.
you didn't sign the attendance sheet.
We have had experiences that have been,
Yeah.
it just, we've never really used this, but when we have had a lot of people trying to be disturbing in a meeting and just talk on top of each other, that's a way for us to kind of say, okay, this is how we're gonna conduct this in a more orderly fashion.
Yeah, and if people,
By the rules.
if God forbid, violence occurs, they have their name on a sign-in sheet. That's why we sign into every single building, right? Yeah. You didn't sign in. I signed in. Oh, no, I didn't.
I signed in over there. Yeah.
Unless there are any comments or concerns about that, I'm gonna. D, speaking time is limited to 1 minute per person. The time might be extended at the discretion of the president or parliamentarian and might be limited if necessary to allow all persons who have signed the speaker's list to speak. E, discussions and charges relating to the competence or personal conduct, I'm sorry, I'm just tired.
Yeah.
Of individuals will be ruled out of order. A speaker who is ruled out of order forfeits the balance of their time and will be directed to leave the microphone. The president or parliamentarian may take appropriate measures to enforce the ruling.
Vanessa, do you want a break?
If you can continue,
Yeah,
that'd be
I can.
amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Section 3, quorum and majority. A, pursuant to the general construction law, section 41, the majority of the whole number of voting members of the council must be present to constitute a quorum, regardless of the number of vacancies that exist. B, the council has 12 voting members, therefore no fewer than 7 members must be present to constitute a quorum. No fewer than 7 votes are needed to carry any motion or any resolution. 3.1 quorum. A, if there is no quorum present at the time set for a meeting, the members present shall wait for 15 minutes for additional members to arrive, after which time a roll call may be held and a vote taken by simple majority of members present to adjourn the meeting to another date. B, notice of the adjourned meeting shall be given forthwith to all council. Article 3. C, in the case of a calendar meeting without a quorum, any program presentation and a report of the superintendent shall be allowed to go forward before the meeting is adjourned. 3.2 official actions. A, official actions of the council may be by motion, letter, statement, or resolution duly adopted by a vote of 7 council. B, the council shall solicit public comment on resolutions whenever feasible. C, resolutions shall be voted upon only at regularly scheduled or special session meetings. D, the review of or intent to vote on a resolution shall be included in the notice of meeting and the draft text attached if available. E, if a resolution is added to the agenda pursuant to Article 4, Section 1, the text shall be made available to the public at or before the meeting where the resolution is to be voted upon. There shall be no proxy or absentee voting by mail or phone. And section F is being deleted. It read, all official actions shall be sent through the council's designated communication channel. Both the administrative assistant and the president shall have access to the.
That's just has been moved to a different section, so that text still exists somewhere, but.
Can I just ask a question on the
Yeah.
earlier thing, sorry. And interrupt you, but, the speaking time, is that just for, what is it for? Including us?
The 1 minute?
Public is 1. Public is 1 minute and members are 2.
Oh, okay, that's it. Sorry. That's all right.
Section 4, minutes. A, the minutes of all meetings shall be a matter of public record and shall be available for inspection as well. B, minutes of calendar meetings shall be created in electronic format and shall be available in draft form upon request within 2 weeks following a meeting. Minutes of calendar meetings shall report the resolutions acted upon and the votes of individual members. The audio recordings of meetings shall not constitute minutes. Article 5, committees. A, the council may create committees and define their membership as it may determine. We're adding, including but not limited to the Communications Committee, Legislative Committee. And B, members in committees may be open, membership in committees may be open to persons who are not members of the council, but all committee chairs shall be council members. Chairs shall be appointed and removed by the president and shall serve until the appointing president's term. C, the council may veto the appointment or removal of any committee chair by a vote of 7 council members. D, it shall be the responsibility of committee chairs to schedule meetings, notify committee members and the public of all meetings, maintain accurate records of all activities, and report monthly to the council. E, each committee shall operate under the open meetings law, these bylaws, and Robert's Rules of Order newly revised. And all committee recommendations shall be subject to approval by the council. F, ad hoc committees, adding such as the bylaws committee inter alia, may be formed as needed for short-term projects of less than 6 months and will dissolve after the project. Article 6, parent associations and community involvement. Section 1, parent associations. A, the council is an active partnership with parents in our schools. Pursuant to New York State Education Law, Section 2590, the council takes note that there shall be a parent association, PA, Parent Teacher Association, PTA, and/or Family Teacher Association, FTA, in each school, and that the council, the community superintendent, and the principal of each school shall have regular communication about PAs, PTAs, and FTAs. B, the council shall meet quarterly with the duly elected officers of PAs, PTAs, FTAs in the district. This requirement may be satisfied by meetings held jointly with the President's Council for District. Section 2, superintendent evaluation. A, the council shall seek public comment on the goals, objectives, and performance indicators adopted for the annual evaluation of the community superintendent. In Article 7, and it looks like there's a lot of comments here, vacancies on the council. Should we talk through those comments or are those?
Quickly, it's just a reference as to how the DOE treats the process of filling a vacancy for a District 75 member, since it is not an obligation of the CEC to fill this vacancy. The question came up during one of the discussions of like, what is the problem? And do we have anything to do with that? We have to notify that there's a vacancy, I believe, and that's about, yeah, we have to notify the DOE that there's a vacancy and everything stems from that. So all those comments are about the process.
So we don't, so that A is a little, because the council does not appoint. Oh, it says other than districts. Okay, yeah.
We add a comma.
Okay,
Here.
yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah.
So A, in the event a council member other than the District 75 member resigns, is removed, or becomes ineligible to serve, the council shall appoint a successor to fill the unexpired term within 60 days. B, the council shall solicit recommendations for applicants to fill the vacancy by a notice of vacancy shall be disseminated as provided in Article 3, Section 1.
What?
The notice shall state a deadline for submitting applications. C, the council shall interview candidates to fill vacant positions in a special meeting called for the sole purpose of conducting interviews. D, the council shall request the presence and participation during the interview process of the President's Council and members of the community. E, the council shall request that they submit any recommendations in writing following the close of interviews. F, an appointment to fill a vacancy on the council shall be by roll call vote at any council meeting following the.
Here, I think that we should perhaps add a blur on our obligation to tell the DOE that we need to fill in a District 75 seat if it becomes open. And just if you see that comment, we can just add that language essentially. If a District 75 representative on the CEC resigns or is removed, the position is declared vacant and the CEC must notify the DOE of the vacancy. And we can say something of like this best practices require that the notification be made in writing to face as soon as the seat becomes vacant.
So at the end, I guess.
G.
Yeah, I can add it.
So I move on to 8.
Yeah.
Article 8, amendment of bylaws. A, these bylaws may be amended at any regularly scheduled calendar meeting of the council by 7 council members, provided the amendment has been presented in writing to the public at the previous calendar meeting and appears in the notice of the meeting as amended. B, adoption of the amendment revised draft shall be by motion or resolution included in the notice of the meeting. Amendments are effective immediately unless otherwise stated in the motion. Article 9, parliamentary authority. A, these bylaws shall be the governing instrument of the council, subject only to the applicable laws and regulations. All procedural questions not covered by these bylaws shall be governed by Robert's Rules of Order and may be revised to the extent that they are consistent with applicable laws, regulations for these. B, the council shall elect one of its members to serve as parliamentarian to advise the council on matters of procedure and matters pertaining to these bylaws. C, in the event any provision of these bylaws conflicts with applicable laws, regulations, or NYC DOE policy, the latter shall be deemed controlling. All other provisions shall remain in full force.
Okay, wait, let's just wait for Vanessa to finish that District 75 stuff so that we can see what that's gonna be.
Yeah. Do we have, I believe that there was a notification period stated at one point for regular seats
Yeah, it's 6, you have to notify the public as soon as
as soon as it becomes.
it becomes vacant, but
Okay.
you said it's appoint a successor within 60 days. I don't know of a specific
There's just.
timeline on notifying.
And it looks like the 75 one doesn't.
No, it doesn't. That's what I wanted to see if we can mirror the same language, but to be consistent, but if there's not.
The fact that you have to fill it within 60 days sort of means that you better hurry up and notify the public.
Well, that would be outside of our hands for District 75, but.
Right, but for the general. Okay, so we're writing, if a District 75 member on the CEC resigns or is removed, the position is declared vacant and the council shall notify the DOE of the vacancy in writing as soon as he becomes.
So Article 10, the transfer of records reference guide is being struck. Should I read it? Move on to the new Article 10, which is code conduct. Section 1, communications protocol. All official correspondence representing and on behalf of this council should be through the council's official letterhead and submitted via the council member's official email account. B, both the administrative assistant and the president shall have access to the account. C, the administrative assistant, under the supervision and direction of the president, shall inform all other council members promptly of any official notices and matters pertaining to council.
But the A should be shall, no? I feel like everything else is shall. Is there a difference between should?
Not technically.
Yeah, it's the one I want.
Section 2, personal conduct, a bunch of comments. A, each council member represents the council when conducting the council's business. Violations of the standards outlined in Article X may be met with in Article 10 may be met with disciplinary action as outlined in New York State Education Law, Section 2590-L, including recommendation from the council for removal of the offending member of the council by B, council members shall comply with any applicable chancellor's regulations, including but not limited to Chancellor's Regulation D-210. Violations of the chancellor's regulations may be grounds for the suspension and possible recommendation for expulsion to the chancellor. Will now be C, council members shall not engage in dishonest behavior of any form. Such conduct, if proven, is grounds for suspension and possible expulsion in a roll call vote, 7 members, and ratification by the chancellor. D, council members should adhere to the confidentiality of information shared as part of their role in the council. Breaches of confidentiality are grounds for disciplinary action, including possible recommendation for removal under New York State Education Law, Section 2590-L2B. E, council members will follow the DOE Division of Human Resource Rules and Regulations governing non-pedagogical administrative employees as a guide provided by the Office of Support Services. Council members must be respectful, show no malice, indifference, or behave in a threatening manner towards the council's administrative assistant. Now F, council members shall undertake and participate in all training and professional development as required. Participating in anti-harassment and anti-bias training regarding Chancellor's Regulation D-210 is recommended. G, council members shall submit all reports, including but not limited to member reimbursements, member individual performance reports, school visit reports, and committee reports in a timely manner. Failure to submit such reports on time may result in a delay in processing reimbursements or other actions. H, to ensure that council meetings are focused on discussion, deliberation, and decision-making, no reports, including member reimbursements, individual performance reports, school visit reports, or committee reports may be worked on, drafted, or completed during the meetings. Members are expected to prepare and submit these reports prior to or following the scheduled meetings. I'll just read the letters that are here. K, council members shall be mindful of others in the school buildings, especially when classes and school programs are in session, as well as respect school property, school staff, and the property of others. It's outlined in New York State Education Law, Section 2801. Council members shall comply with Title 53, Section 1-13D2 of the New York City COIB Code, which provides that, quote, public servant engaging in a personal and private activity may use or permit the use of their city title in connection with print or online published work, teaching, or paid speaking engagements under either of the following circumstances. Their city title is used to demonstrate such public servants' relevant professional qualifications, provided that their city title is accompanied by a reasonably prominent disclaimer stating that the views expressed in the work, teaching, or speaking engagement do not necessarily represent the views of the agency.
So maybe we should go back up to the beginning of personal conduct and,
So Article 10, the original one was eliminated because we no longer keep physical records. So none of that made sense anymore. It was replaced with the Code of Conduct. The Code of Conduct was originally drafted by Bays. There has been litigation around the scope of Chancellor's Regulation D-210, and there is no clarity as to many of its provisions. And since the litigation is ongoing, what we suggest we do is, instead of quoting a specific language from the law, we're simply referring back to the regulation itself so that any surviving rules would still be applicable to the council. So communications, simply saying that any communications from us as council members should go from our accounts. And that the president and assistant should have access to it, and we should respond promptly to anything that pertains to council matters. Personal conduct generally, let me see. A. It references back to disciplinary actions stated by New York State law, which can include the recommendation for removal in case there is misconduct. And we're simply stating that violations to the code of conduct will be followed up by the legal standards in education. Not sure if anyone has any comments on section A. In B, we are still bound to Chancellor's Regulations D210. As I mentioned, we are referencing it as a whole, and whatever survives from the litigation will still be applicable to us. Any comments on section B? D, I think that this is pretty standard, that we should behave ourselves in an honest way as representatives of public
That came from Jay,
forms. Yeah,
basis.
it's also in the legal ethics code for public officials, New York State, or New York City rather. Confidentiality breaches, again, the state of New York education law provides the language for any consequences in case of breaches, and not necessarily in case of breaches of confidentiality per se, but misconduct in general. This also came from FACE, I believe.
Yeah.
The DOE Division of Human Resources and Rules and Regulations, that we should be respectful, behave with no malice, and treat our AAA respectfully. G, we are all required at the beginning of our terms to participate in trainings. Again, to learn about anti-harassment or discrimination or biases training, and that is required by D210. And we're recommending that this training be taken. Let's see, H. We added clarification on what our council's expectations will be for reports on reimbursements particularly, or anything that is within our job duties, school visits, committees, etc. It should be timely. And if we're not doing it timely, we should expect delays on what we are trying to obtain as a goal. Also from phase, we should focus on discussing and not doing other work during the meetings. Any comments so far? The New York State Law 2801 talks about code of conduct within school buildings. That is also language by phase. We're simply clarifying that this is the legal language that can be referenced to. And last, we have spoken about how we use our title as public officials. In New York City law has provided regulations around that. So the language from New York City law is quoted here at the end.
So most of this, almost all of it comes from the FACE template. And this M, what's listed as M, is part of the ethics training that everyone goes through. And I just feel like it should be part of the code of conduct. It shouldn't be something that we have to hunt down. It should be like something we all know because we are subject to it, whether it's in our bylaws or not. So. All right. Anybody have any?
Do we
I
need to
think we
take
have to,
public
I think we have to
comment?
take public comment. yeah.
Okay.
We have exhausted.
Is there anybody joining us via Zoom that has any questions or comments? Anybody on any of the translation line?
Nothing in Bangla line.
Nothing in the Spanish line.
Nothing in the Mandarin.
There is nobody here in person. So. I move to vote.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so Jonathan, you moved to vote. And Katina, you. For some reason I can't. Oh, are you in this? Are you in there? 'Cause for some reason I can't change it. All right, you call the roll there. It's secretary. Spots. Okay, here we go. So, CEC member comments are implied from the discussion itself. I just want to add, it's a sign of the times that the not being allowed to harass is now. In.
What do you mean by that? Sorry.
That's one of the things that we've. Pending the litigation. Is harassing behavior, that was in G, is it? Yes, so the DOE is no longer enforcing the section of D 210 that speaks specifically about harassment. So we cannot enforce it either. So.
I'm saying,
Yeah,
it's a sign of it.
yes, a sign of this one.
So people can harass us?
It's just hold the vote. Let's hold the vote. Hold it.
So let's get. Council member Antonio Ferraro.
Yes.
Council member Leslie King.
Yes.
Council member Vanessa Gonzalez Roca.
No.
I'm kidding. Get it on record.
Yes.
Council member Nancy Cruz. Yes. Council member Tina Rogers. Yes. Council member Jonathan Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Hans Arietta.
Yes.
And Donalda Chumney is no longer here. Councilmember Kwame Egerton.
Yes.
And that we have it approved.
Yeah.
Okay, we finally approved that. Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
It's a little less, I don't know.
A little hungry here.
It's a little under. Thank you so much for working on that. It was a lot.
That's why we have lawyers.
That's a.
Yeah, he's.
Sorry.
Yes, so, I would like to, we have to do general public comment on this meeting real quick.
Okay, is there anybody on Zoom who has any general comments? I think we have our interpreters with us, so I'm just gonna ask if there's anybody on any of the interpretation lines has a general comment.
Nobody in the Spanish line.
No comments in Bengali line.
No comments in the Mandarin line.
There's nobody here in person, so.
Nobody. Okay, so, I'm gonna adjourn the calendar meeting at 9:25. But I want to ask if we can open the business meeting just to vote on one thing.
Yes.
Okay, okay, let's open up, let's, open the business meeting at 9:25. And, I want to just. We are gonna have to call the roll real quickly. Nancy, can you call the roll? I did it.
Great, thanks so much. Councilmember Antonia Ferrara.
Yes.
Councilmember Leslie King.
Yes.
Councilmember Vanessa Gonzalez Roca.
Yes.
Councilmember Nancy Cruz, yes. Councilmember Katina Rogers.
Yes.
Councilmember Jonathan Davis.
Yes.
Council Arietta.
Yes.
Councilmember Kwame Edwards.
Here. Yes.
Yeah, here, right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's okay.
Right.
I understood what you guys were
The
saying.
one thing that, I would like to vote on is the use of $1,000 for the legislative breakfast, which is Friday, January 24th. Last year, we didn't even spend $1,000. We, spent like $500 on food and then a few $100s on some pens. And then we had food donated. So I don't really anticipate using all that money, but, I would like to make a motion to possibly spend $1,000 on the legislative breakfast.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Vanessa, and would you please call
Councilmember Antonia Ferrara.
yes.
Councilmember Leslie King.
Yes.
Councilmember Vanessa Gonzalez Roca.
Yes.
Councilmember Nancy Cruz, yes. Councilmember Katina Rogers. Councilmember Jonathan Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Heather Arietta.
Yes.
Councilmember Kwame Edwards.
Yes.
And with that, it's approved.
Thank you. If you want to approve all those minutes, we can.
We
I'm not.
Yes.
We do both.
Let's do both.
bulk approval. I
Okay.
move to all of the minutes together in one vote.
Okay, just name them.
The minutes for
Mark.
the March 12th business meeting, March 26th calendar meeting, April 16th calendar and business meeting, May 14th presidents updates.
Oh, why is that?
Don't know why that's there.
Should probably be.
May 14th meeting
It should
and
be May 14th meeting.
May 28th calendar, so that's the business meeting, May 14th and the May 28th calendar meeting.
I second that motion.
I'll fix the May 14th. Okay.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Shanice, for doing all of that.
does anybody have any objections? To, was it May 14th
Business meeting.
business meeting? Okay, so the, minutes have been approved without objection.
Because we don't have time to talk about school visits and
Yeah.
we have to start talking about our reports for
Yeah, we're gonna do.
FCA in the next meeting. Can I advocate for putting that higher on the agenda? Because it's a combined meeting and I don't want us to end up in a situation
Mhm.
where it's 9:15 and we
Okay,
can't actually, so.
right,
We
okay.
elevate that
Okay,
somehow,
yeah.
So which item?
the discussion
The
of
discussion on-
school visits. SBA needs.
Yes,
Wasn't there supposed to be an SAA rep? Isn't that this meeting?
yes.
Oh.
Okay, I am going to officially adjourn this business meeting, at
That's what, 9:30?
9:30. All right, thank you, everybody. Um, Thank you, that was a good one.
Supposedly, your wife, I get in the middle of grad.
Yeah, comments, yeah. Yeah, so the draft that you're seeing is after the changes that I added. Okay, yeah. let me-